We're back with Julia Ioffe, Edward Luce, and Rick Stengel. So, Rick, I want to go in the Wayback Machine because there was a time when Republicans were 180 degrees from where they are today. And I remember the late Senator John McCain in 2015, along with, Senator Lindsey Graham, talking about the dire situation at that time in Ukraine. Let's listen first to the senator from Arizona.
It's shameful. Vladimir Putin has not paid any price. Even the ceasefire was violated until he achieved his objective. Ukrainians aren't asking for American boots on the ground. That's not the question here. They're asking for weapons to defend themselves, and they are being slaughtered. This is a shameful chapter. I'm ashamed of my country, I'm ashamed of my president, and I'm ashamed of myself that I haven't done more to help these people. It is really, really heartbreaking.
And just real quick on that, you had headlines screaming at that time in Washington Times, Lindsey Graham and McCain blasting the Obama administration for waffling on arming Ukraine. And then today, after this, you have Lindsey Graham saying this.
I have never been more proud of the president. I was very proud of J.D. Vance standing up for our country. We want to be helpful. What I saw in the Oval Office was disrespectful, and I don't know if we can ever do business with Zelensky again. The way he handled the meeting, the way he confronted the president was just over the top. He either needs to resign and send somebody over that we can do business with, or he needs to change.
Help me square that circle, sir. I don't. What is America missing right now?
Well, Michael, I'll go even further back in the Wayback Machine than you went. The Republican Party, as you know, from Richard Nixon onward, was the tough on Russia, the tough on communism party. Their campaigns against Democrats every cycle was that you're weak on communism, you're not tough enough. And now we have the Republican Party, the MAGA party, being the party that's kowtowing to Vladimir Putin. It's just head shaking for anybody who has lived through that. I want to make two other points, one larger, one smaller. One about Julia's point about we live in separate media universes, and that's true. But I would hope that some Republican voters, some MAGA voters who are watching this on Fox and getting a different spin would go, is that really a good thing that the president of the United States is yelling at someone in the Oval Office? Is that how we want our president to be? One of the things that we did, that every administration until now has done, is you did preparation. Diplomacy was all the negotiation that happened behind the scenes. So this didn't happen at the spray or in the Oval Office. And the final thing is just, beware of a man who says he's been disrespected. That's an insecure person who says that. The most powerful man in the world doesn't get disrespected. He ignores it. And the Republican Party, to even go back in the Wayback Machine, was the party of the strong, silent type. That's not what we've seen. We see a guy who speaks loudly and carries a small stick.
Yes. And so that begs the question, Ed, what does Trump do next? What happens after this? How do you see this playing out?
So I think a lot of the clues as to what he's going to do next were revealed by that post he did on Truth Social straight afterwards, that Zelensky's not interested in peace. He's not an interlocutor we can deal with. Words to that effect. Which aligns very much with Putin's demands that they get rid of this Nazi leader, Zelensky, and replace him with somebody democratically elected, because, of course, Zelensky is a dictator, remember. In other words, for the Russians to have a quisling, to have a puppet in there who's essentially a pro-Russian figure. Trump is now halfway down the road towards that with these comments, and Lindsey Graham's as well. I mean, the Lindsey Graham idea that Trump stood up, Trump was the real man in that room, that Trump stood up for America, showed you what leadership was. There was one real man, without getting into gender essentialism, in that room, and that was Zelensky. And the second thing, in addition to getting a quisling, is they've been already hinting, we will cut off any further military supplies. In fact, there haven't been any shipments in the last since Trump became president. But it looks like they're going to to do a mafia sort of move on Zelensky here, and there'll be pressure on him to step down, and which he has to resist.
Yeah, he has to resist that. And I think, Julia, just to wrap it up with you, you've got this headline, Russia's state media briefly enters the Oval Office during the Zelensky meeting. How did they get there? We don't know, but, that's what happens when the White House controls the press pool. What are you hearing from your circles? How's this playing in Russia? What do you think?
Giddiness. And also what I'm hearing is that there's not a ton of respect for Trump, but hey, we'll take it.
Whatever works.
We will absolutely take it. I will say, though, to your point and to Rick's point, to wrap it up, I would say there is continuity. And the continuity is, the Republicans were always anti-communist, but that does kind of put them on the right wing, closer to being pro-fascist, which is what we're seeing now. And that is where the Republican Party is lining up. The other bit of continuity is we're against whatever the president of the opposite party is for, right? And so when President Biden was in office, I heard a lot of people, including at the Heritage Foundation, saying, this is not a plan. Ukraine needs more weapons. Ukraine needs to win faster and harder. Right? Because Biden was being too cautious. And then the third thing is, the point of continuity is Lindsey Graham himself. He loves regime change.
Yes.
He loved it in Iraq. He supported all the color revolutions. And I think to regime change, Lindsey, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Everything looks like a nail.